Okay, so this is the second video, which is dealing about the card reader, which is looking at the practicalities that we've learned from having this card reader in St Margaret's. First thing to say is that Goodbox, the supplier of the equipment, they are incredibly helpful. Whether you contact them by email, by telephone, they're great. They also provide a series of short how-to videos, and the link will appear in a minute in the corner of the screen. And that will give you all sorts of information about when you first get the equipment, how it works, how to make refunds, how to send payments offline, all that kind of stuff. But it really is very simple. The interface, do not fear it at all. It's literally a case of switching it on, and it will take you through the process. There's also a really good portal, and more than one person could have access to that, but that will give you sorts of information about the day and the time of day when payments are made, the amounts of the payments and that sort of thing. It doesn't give you names, of course, but it gives you all sorts of historical data, which is really helpful when you're trying to look back at how useful the card reader has been. And I certainly use that when I'm doing my update reports for the St Margaret's PCC every 6 to 8 weeks. Okay, some things about the practicalities of things we found from using the machine. Now, St Margaret's, we bought the stand, a purple, it's a stand, white stand, which comes with a purple sticker which you stick on it. The sticker's really hard to stick on, actually, to get it straight. Anyway, that's me being a bit pedantic about these things, but it is on straight now, but it's a little bit fiddly. Slightly confusingly, on this stand, there's one of those Wi-Fi symbols, like sort of towards the bottom of the stand. And the number of people, not surprisingly, go to tap their card on the Wi-Fi symbol. It will not work. It has to be tapped on the screen. So what I've done is made a simple little sticker, roughly in the same colour actually, of the purple colour of the front of the card reader, and just says tap screen. So that helps. The other thing is that some people are more or less used to using card readers. So I've watched it sometimes that people have got their card out and they've tapped the screen, or they think they have, but nothing has happened. So you like if you do with any card reader, and if you're experienced with using these things, you know what I mean. You must take the card and place it on the screen and wait for the machine to respond. It will beep at you, and it rather nicely says, I think it firstly says authorizing payment, and then it says thank you. So you must make sure that that process is fulfilled. Now, it therefore means that you might want to supervise the machine, certainly in its early usage, to make sure that you are getting the payments, because that would be a bit of a shame, wouldn't it, if you've got the card reader and you're not receiving the money. Occasionally, and it does happen only occasionally, a card or the reader asks for the card to be inserted. Now, I'm not quite sure why that is. I think it might be to do with the contactless payment protocols of the banks, that after a certain number of payments, a card has to be inserted and then the PIN added. But normally speaking, for payments now of £100 or less, you can just tap it and there's no PIN required. But sometimes you've got to be able to poke it into the machine and then add your PIN number. Now, of course, it's in the stand. You've got to take it out of the stand because you won't be able to get the card in. So a little bit fiddly that, but by and large, that isn't our experience. But I do want to make sure that you're aware of that. The battery isn't great. I mean, it's a bit like it's a mobile phone, effectively, this thing. So it's got a removable battery, but the battery life isn't great. So when you're buying it, do make sure that you buy an additional battery. And I found, particularly when we used it for the Scarecrow weekend, where we were using it like for 6 or 7 hours a day, that we positioned the table, the payments table, where we were receiving the money for the burgers and the teas and coffees and things. We made sure that it was adjacent to a main socket. So we plugged it in, and it was directly plugged into the mains all day, and that was fine. But otherwise, look, this machine. I mean, many of you have seen it when I brought it to the UV service in January. Um, you turn it on and you just follow the on screen instructions, and away you go. I do notice that some people expect this piece of equipment to kind of, magically turn on and off at a simple touch of a button. Um, One of the people in Crick who uses it, I have to remind them to hold the off button, hold it, for, I don't know, 2 or 3 seconds until the machine has recognised the fact that you actually do want to turn this thing off. And I think the final point actually that sort of linked to that is make sure you've got a few people that really do know how to use this thing. Um, Whilst it is straightforward, like any piece of equipment, it needs a little bit of getting used to, doesn't it? And some people need a bit more time with that. And so, although the how-to videos are useful, there's probably no substitute from having somebody who takes charge. And it's Margaret's. It's often referred to as my card reader, which is a bit weird. But you know what I mean. It's somebody who is the sort of the person who is taking responsibility for it and making sure that everybody else knows what it is they need to do to use it. But that's it. Good luck, and I really do hope you agree it.